Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your reading for the month of January. This reading is for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. If you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe down below. And I'm doing the reading a little bit differently this month. I've pulled a card around your energy, your environment, and an oracle card. And I want to talk about the astrology while I'm doing your 9-card spread. If you see me look down, I've got some notes on your astrology, so that's where I'll be looking. So Sagittarius, you have the South Node. Let's start there. You have the South Node leaving your sign after this past year and a half. It went there in, I think it was like April of 2020. And it's there until January. But throughout this entire transit, it was sitting on top of your house of self, if this is your ascendant. It's sitting on top of your personality, if this is your sun sign. And the South Node is always trying to take something away from us, but it's doing it for our highest good. So if shadow work resonates as a phrase for the past year and a half, if you felt forced to give up some attribute that you've always associated as just a part of your personality, and you felt like you had to evolve in some area of your life, that wouldn't surprise me at all with the South Node transit there. Relationships could have definitely been under review at this time. And you have Mars currently transiting your sign, which can be really great for getting tasks done that we've had on the back burner, or even getting like a big project completed in your life. Like if you're moving, for example, or you have a project in mind you've been wanting to start and maybe complete over the course of the next 2 months for work, this is an awesome time to do it. What I will advise with that Mars transit though is it's a time where you can feel like you're just plugged into some like battery. You can feel like you just have a lot of energy, and as a result you could easily overcommit yourself. If it were me, I would make like a list of what matters the most to you at this time. What is your top priority to get done over the course of this next 2 months? And I would prioritize that thing or those things, because it is easy to overcommit with that transit. You also have so much activity going on in your second house that we have to talk about. So at the time when I release this reading, the sun will be moving into Capricorn, into your second house. And you have Mercury sitting there, and then all of these Pluto-Venus conjunctions are happening in your second house as well. And your second house will have you reevaluating your sense of self-worth and value. It will have you likely looking at your finances, at your resources. These can be tangible resources, even like property. And with those conjunctions happening, I would be very careful with your money. Even if it's like steadily like coming to you, that's too many. Even if you've got it, I would still be really, really careful at this time. It's definitely a time of assessing your finances. And this is likely from now through the spring, actually. That energy will be pretty strong there, especially when Mars leaves your sign and goes directly into Capricorn. Now, the good news about all that second house activity is that it can really catapult you forward in terms of your feeling of self-worth and self-value. I sense for Sagittarius, especially after that South Node transit, that if there are any relationships in your life that leave you feeling depleted, like you're not enough, anything that's like has a negative impact on your self-value, and especially if it's connected to your resources, your money, I think that's getting clipped for y'all. And that might not happen right away in January. That might happen further down the road, like into the spring. Sometime between now and then would make a lot of sense for you guys though. And Jupiter's moving into your 4th house. So that's awesome. That's a lot of luck and expansion within your family. So just your family members, like some good news for your parents or your siblings, but Jupiter does have a tendency to expand what it touches. So this could even show up in the way of like some growth around your household. Like if there was an addition that you've been working on in your house or something like that. And maybe that's where the warning comes in with the funds earlier. I don't know. But a lot of assessment around the finances and around self-worth for Sagittarius at this time. So in your energy, you got the King of Swords. And I like this. It feels super duper mature. And Sagittarius, you are of all the fire signs, you're the evolved fire sign from the Aries to the Leo archetype to the Sagittarius archetype. And if this spread resonates for you for the month of January, you could be channeling even some firm and stern Aquarius energy for the month of January. The King of Swords is often really aloof to other people. And typically they come off as aloof to other people because they're so focused on what their goals are. What I really like about this card is that there is like a throw caution to the wind when it comes to people's perception of you or your reputation. And there's also a no BS element of this card too. There's no passive aggressiveness, there's no mincing of words. And it definitely takes moving through some battles in your life where you've felt in a more page-like energy, where you've felt maybe disempowered in the past in order to move into a place of this level of empowerment. So I really like that for you guys. You got in your environment the Five of Pentacles. And I immediately felt like, well, when this card comes out, especially in light of you coming up here as the King of Swords, someone in your environment could definitely be in this like lack mentality. This could even be someone you live with. This could be an earth sign, a Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. And I really don't think you're going to have much space to entertain someone in a sense where you're like placating them or being like their personal cheerleader. Like I think you probably have a lot going on moving to this next season into early 2022. And I felt inclined to pull a second card around this, and I got the Temperance card. And this seems like a piece of advice. This is also super mature. It's your energy, and it's staying both grounded in a real practical sense, but also in an emotional sense. This is like the opposite of flying off the handle. And the Temperance card is also the opposite of all that really fiery and instinctual Mars energy that you have going on right now. So when it comes to your environment, you're probably going to have to like cool yourself down. But when it comes to your goals, I think you're extremely clear and focused, and you could be pouring into those big time right now. Maybe you're also seeing a side of yourself that you're unfamiliar with. Like maybe this is a new iteration of you or something like that. You're likely being guided by your intuition at this time, the moon coming out in the very center of your reading. You could also have strong Cancer or Pisces placements. And I think this is good. I think that even with everything we're talking about in such a practical sense in your reading, both with your astrology and with your energy card, there is something here about leaning into your emotions when it helps guide your path forward, but not when it requires you to pretzel yourself into a different version of you, maybe an old version of you, to placate this lack energy in your environment. That's interesting. This could also be a parent or a sibling in your environment. This doesn't have to be like a partner. Could even be a work colleague with the Pentacles coming up there. But your first card out was the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords, the Nine of Pentacles in the reverse, and the Seven of Pentacles. If you are doing this assessment, Sagittarius, and finding that things you've invested a lot of your time and energy into aren't working, the advice coming out right away is to cut the cord. And this feels like, especially after the South Node being in your sign, that you're like ready to do this, that you've been propelled to do this already. And this also echoes what your Oracle card was. I pulled from the Moon deck, you got the South Node, Don't let your past hold you back, which feels very relevant for you guys. And then on the bottom of that deck, you got expect powerful change. So I do think there's big shifts coming for Sagittarius, particularly in two areas: within themselves and your relationship with your personality and self-worth, and also in your closest relationships. Maybe your partner could be showing up there. Now this middle row feels incredibly empowered. It's very different than the energy of the first row that I just showed you. The Ten of Pentacles, the Moon, and the Chariot. And again, you could have Cancer, Pisces placements in your chart, or your top three, your Sun, Moon, or Rising. This is very much a keeping your eye on the prize kind of energy. It is a focus on your career and legacy, or what you want it to look like, which might look different than how it does right now when you're watching this reading. It is closely tied into a sense of your feelings, and there's an awareness here that your feelings are what can keep you committed to something. It's your connection with your intuition, your deep, deep inner knowing, that can propel you forward in new ways in your life, in all areas of your life, in ways that just our strength of will or our mind or doing things for other people can't do. Because this seems like someone who wants you to do things for them, this Five of Pentacles. When that can't be like the motor that's guiding your ship, it's suggested here that by tapping into your feelings, focusing on what legacy feels like for you, what you want things to look like maybe 10 years down the road from now, and then consciously moving in that direction with the Chariot card, that's what's advised for January 2022 for Sagittarius. There does seem to be this balance of the heart and the mind with this card and with this card, and in that row as well. I really like it because the word that it all boils down to is empowerment. And I do think, I'm just going to keep coming back to it, I do think there's something in your environment leaving you feeling less than empowered, that used to leave you in this Eight of Swords energy, which is a mental prison, which left you feeling like you couldn't be independent or stable on your own for some reason. This is like a codependent card right here, this Nine of Pentacles in the reverse. In your bottom row, you have the Wheel of Fortune, suggesting that this period of mental anguish is turning over. And you might not feel this until February, until the end of January, something like that, where maybe you start to see that things actually are turning over in your favor. If this is a big change for you, you got the Nine of Wands and the Three of Wands in the reverse. And I think whatever changes you could be making were not a part of the plan at one point. This Three of Wands in reverse is the suggestion of the change of course in something that you've manifested. And the Nine of Wands, I think it's scary. I think this card is all saying like change is scary, especially next to the Wheel of Fortune. And I think anything you can do to stay in that temperance mood of balancing yourself, especially as you begin making changes from a more empowered place for your highest good and not from an overly emotional space. I just noticed you have the Queen of Cups on the bottom of the deck. You could be dealing externally with Cancer, Pisces, or Scorpio, and the Knight of Wands underneath that. Yeah, I wouldn't do anything reckless right now, but that doesn't mean you can't take change. And maybe it's finding that middle ground. That's the message for Sagittarius. That like change is good, but erratic movement isn't necessary. Something like that. And once again, just returning back to that Five of Pentacles, that anything that's in that lack space, that's wanting you to like, you know, put on their oxygen mask before putting on yours, anything like that, it's really time to start like, you know, cutting that dynamic out of your life and moving into a more empowered place. All right, Sagittarius, so I'll see you in February, and I hope this helps. If you like the content that I share, please click the like and subscribe down below.